India has recorded more than 47,000 new COVID-19 infections in the past 24 hours. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says the country is doing a lot better than others, despite data showing India has the fastest growing number of infection globally. He says India's recovery rate is better than most countries, adding the world is praising the efforts of the country's foot soldiers. Well, for more, let's speak to Neha Punya. She's in New Delhi. Neha, well, the High Court's now telling the Delhi government to strictly follow guidelines on COVID-19 testing and not according to its own interpretation. So what exactly happened to prompt this reaction?
Glenda, the Delhi High Court was listening to a petition that alleged that the regional government here in the national capital is not testing as much as it should be for COVID-19. It emerges that Delhi has a testing capacity for 11,000 tests a day, but it's only testing about 6,000 people. And through the course of this hearing, it emerged that the Delhi government has also been using an antigen test for primary diagnosis of COVID-19. This against the traditional nose and throat swab tests that are believed to be far more accurate. So the Delhi High Court has now criticized the Delhi government for not following the central government's guidelines, which explicitly state that you have to use the RT-PCR test for diagnosis of COVID-19 patients and not antigen testing. It's also, the High Court also cited, interestingly, the serological survey conducted in Delhi a few weeks ago, which showed that 23% of Delhi's population possibly had COVID-19 at some point of time and were asymptomatic, saying, given this finding that you yourself have found through a survey, it's important that you're testing correctly because antigen tests often show up a lot of false negatives, and that could be, Glenda, one of the reasons why Delhi has seen a dip in COVID-19 numbers in the last few weeks.
Neha, we understand that the Delhi government is allowing street-side vendors and hawkers to resume operations. Are there any measures in place to prevent a resurgence of cases?
When you think of India's streets, the quintessential roadside stalls and hawkers are the first thing that come to mind, and it's this particular sector that's been hit hard because of India's long 4-month-long lockdown. The Delhi government says that because there's been a dip in cases, it feels confident that these businesses can resume operations. It's allowed hawkers and street vendors to operate between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. every day. But this isn't a blanket go-ahead. It's a trial period that they'll be allowed to operate for a period of 1 week with very strict regulations. The wearing of masks has been made compulsory. Safe distancing needs to be maintained. And all of this will have to be implemented strictly by regional officers here in Delhi. The government says it's aware that cases across the country are still rising and it doesn't want to be complacent. But at the same time, it wants to allow these men and women to start earning their livelihoods once again.
Well, thanks for that, Neha Punya, speaking to us from New Delhi.